Dr. Nidhi Garg, Ehsaas Woman of Bhubaneswar, and a counseling psychologist. I am delighted to welcome you to an exclusive session of the Right Circle, a traditional Indian style sit and talk session initiated by the Prabhakitan Foundation. It is a privilege to have Miss Jyotsna Mohan grace today's edition of the Right Circle with her presence. We are all excited to hear from her, but before that, let me take a moment to share a few words about the Prabhakitan Foundation. Prabhakitan Foundation is deeply committed to promoting literature, education, and the performing arts, culture, gender equality, and women's empowerment. Through a vibrant array of initiatives ranging from author interactions, book launches, cultural events, and captivating performances in music, dance, and theatre. Literature, festivals to panel discussions, boutique cultural events, and captivating performances. The Foundation continues to celebrate and support creative expression. Each carefully curated event offers a meaningful platform for authors and artists to engage with discerning audiences, fostering dialogue and inspiration and cultural connection. Now it's my utmost pleasure to introduce our guest, Ms. Jyotsna Mohan. Jyotsna Mohan is a seasoned journalist with nearly 3 decades of experience across television, print, and digital media. Known from her incisive storytelling and fearless voice, she has consistently held up a mirror to society, shedding light on the truths often left unsaid. Her compelling debut book, Stoned, Shamed, Depressed, an Amazon bestseller, dwells into the hidden lives of Indian teenagers, uncovering struggles that resonate with young people around the world. As a columnist for leading publications in India and abroad, Jyotsna's writing confront societal issues and challenges entrenched norms, a legacy she proudly carries forward from her family. Now, I would like to introduce our conversationalist, Mr. Chander Mohan. Chander Mohan is a highly respected senior journalist and editor with over 3 decades of experience in the field of media. For the past 30 years, he has served as the editor of Daily Veer Pratap, the oldest Hindi newspaper in northwest India, published from Jalandhar. He is a well-known columnist for major national Hindi dailies, with widely read editorials spanning national to local issues. A regular face on DD Punjabi, Khas Khabar Ek Nazar. He offers sharp weekly insights on current affairs. Beyond journalism, he is a passionate educationist. As president of the country of the century-old Arya Shikha Mandal, he oversees 5 institutions of higher learning at both school and college levels. We are truly honored to have the both of you with us today to share your thoughts and insights. A big round of applause for Ms. Jyotsna Mohan and Mr. Chander Mohan. I would request you to please take your seats.
Mr. Chander Mohan, Ms. Jyotsna Mohan, ladies and gentlemen, and fond members of the Right Circle, welcome. For some of you, this may be another repeat visit to us. So welcome or welcome back to our hotel. I hope that the high tea setup without the onion and the garlic is still good enough to get the evening started. I don't have much of a description for these two distinguished authors and people of eminence from the literary circle of India. I think ma'am has already done that. But I do not want my opportunity here, my 2-3 minutes here, to be used up as a marketing speed. But as much as I could not figure out what is Sadhguru doing on the creative, I needed humor, of course. There is a mention of Vivas, and I just thought that I'll take only 2 minutes to explain what Vivas is all about. Vivanta is one of the brands of the IHCL portfolio, where we have Taj, we have Vivanta, we have selections, and so on and so forth, so long list. But Vivanta is meant to be a lifestyle brand. It's supposed to be fuss-free. It's supposed to be luxurious in the modern sense. As one of our brand differentiators, we recognize women of eminence, women who are achievers, women who make India proud. And as a part of this initiative, we work with Prabhakar Foundation and the Right Circle in showcasing, bringing authors, writers who have made women of India proud through their work. And I know that art is such a thing that anybody who creates the art is somebody worthy of respect, but anybody who appreciates the art is equally worthy of respect. And I think by that measure, all of you here who are seated and writing are equally honorable. And I'm glad to be here in front of you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Having us here. Thank you, Katan Foundation, for giving us this great opportunity to visit this great land. This is the first time that two of us are here. And coming, and since the morning now, we realize how much we have missed. And it's an honor, privilege to be in this land of Bhagwan Jagannath. Thank you all for giving us this great opportunity. Thank you all also. I have to thank the organizer also for keeping so much water here, because I have to talk to my daughter. So this will come in handy. We come here to talk about a book, Pratap, a defined newspaper. This is a newspaper that was started in 1919, the year of the Jallianwala Bagh. We started on 30th March. 13th April was Jallianwala Bagh, and promptly the British shut down the newspaper, and it was shut down for 1 year. After 1 year, when we started, it was sold out immediately. From then onwards till 1947, there was a constant struggle with the British. The editors were in prison, the censorship was imposed, the paper was closed, a lot of fines were imposed, and so on and so forth. And there's also the story of my father, who was a comrade of Bhagat Singh, and he was in the same central jail of Lahore on the day Bhagat Singh was hanged there. So that story is also there. But this book is basically her inspiration, because she is the motivator. She is the one who said, "Okay, we must write about this." So my initial reaction was, "Okay, kaun padega?" There's no point writing something which nobody is going to read. But she's been proven right. So I'll start this question to her: that why did she think that this story matters, and why did she sort of, persuade and pressurize me to get on with it?
So I'm used to being on the other side of the mic and asking the questions, and I'm going to take that role back very soon after this answer. So firstly, thank you very much for all of you for inviting us here. Like my father said, it's been an honor, and whatever we've seen of the city so far has been absolutely beautiful. We are really happy to be here to share this story, and I've believed in this story for a very, very long time. I have believed in this story, that this was a story that was worth telling, that I have been privileged to be born into a family where history unfolded within its four walls. And not everyone has that privilege. Also, I think there were just many events that happened. The family didn't really want to be in the midst of it, but it was thrown into it. So, all in all, I think from 1919 till the newspapers shut down, it was a constant tug of war in a sense of, there was the very act of survival at some point. So to me, I think it was very important that this story be shared. It may have been based in the North, but I firmly believe that it is a story that will resonate with people across the country, because Bhagat Singh is not just limited to the North. India's freedom struggle is not just limited to the North. The emergency is not just limited to the North. So I persuaded my father I think it took me a while to persuade him. And I'm going to throw the question back to him as to why he was hesitant. What was the big point of being hesitant about writing this story?
I was never very good at beating my own drum. So that came little difficult for me, and because this had never been done by our ancestors. My father, as I said, was with Bhagat Singh, and my grandfather, about whom the famous education minister Abul Kalam Khan, Maulana Abul Kalam, had said that in Urdu he had said that the kabak kalam se nahi likhta, peshe se likhta hai. That this damn fellow does not write with a pen, he writes with a knife. So they never boasted about what they have done. And my father's story, nine times in prison, he had made bombs with Bhagat Singh. The attempts at derailing the viceroy's carriage, attempt at murdering, shooting the governor. All those, he was part of the whole thing. But we were never told about it. He totally reticent about whatever he had done. All that we gathered were some things he had written, or from other books, or from his friends, and So that is why it became difficult to write about it. And plus, we also had this period which I went through myself of militancy in Punjab, and a parcel bomb was sent to us. 2 people died in my office. 2 of my men died there. So I didn't want to write about that, because that sort of reopened the entire chapter, the tragic chapter. And I said, if likhna hai, to phir sara likhna hai. You cannot, be selective about it. So it took me some time to, but then she said, no, we must do it. And I also felt that, well, as one is getting long in years, as long as the memory lasts, so may as well put down to whatever I remember or whatever I can.
So I want to actually tell you all a little bit about Punjab and what really happened. And it was not just my father, but even my mother was hesitant about it, because she had suffered at the back, as my father would say, it is the family members who were suffering. I think there was a parcel that was sent to their office. The post would land on it was sent to my grandfather, but the post would come on my father's desk. And my father tried to open it. I think there were too many nails in it, and he couldn't open it. I think he called a peon to open it, and the guy tried to open it. Even he couldn't open it. So Papa was busy writing, and he said, "You just take it to the other room and open it. I'm trying to finish the work." And then within seconds, there was a blast, and 2 people died. One died instantly, and one died on the way to the hospital. And I think there was a 3rd young man who was injured. For my family, I think there was no closure, because things, you had 2 people die on your watch. How do you get closure on that? 2 young men. So I think that was the tricky part of convincing him. And like he said, he's a journalist, he's a journalist for 40 odd years that either I'm going to write the whole story or I'm not going to write anything. This was a chapter that we felt also would get a reaction, which it did in a city, because it's a very emotive topic in the north still. Our attempt was not to take away the story, our attempt was not to take away anything from the Delhi riots or Operation Blue Star, but our attempt on this chapter was to show that usse pehle bhi bahut kuch hua tha, that the story begins much before what anybody knows of. But the real story of this book begins in 1919, and I want my father to, just give us a sense of, people have asked us, why is it called a defiant newspaper? The Defiance.
This was like, the principle of my grandfather, who's the founder of the paper. He's written that we are, as an editor of newspaper, we are not vendors of news. We are not sellers of news. We have to stand for truth. So that, at that time in 1919, when the British were there, to stand for truth meant something. Because you got all kind of pressure from all kinds of all sides, and as and there was one time that all the male members of the family were in jail. Yet the paper kept running because the staff helped and the people around helped. And then they would impose fines repeatedly, 3,000, 5,000, which was a princely sum at that time. But there was no one in the house to pay. Yet the paper survived. And it became such a popular thing that once when the censorship was imposed on us, the person who came down to fight for us was Jyotsna Mohan. He came all the way to in Lahore to fight for the censorship against Pratap. So that was the legacy and there is a very interesting correspondence between Jawaharlal Nehru, where they've sort of almost abused each other as arrogant and silly and things like that. So those kind of stories were needed to be told. And then the life of my father, who was, as I said, with Bhagat Singh, the day Bhagat Singh was martyred, and his association with Chandrasekhar Azad and all those people is frequent. He first time went to prison, he was 18 years old. The son of the top editor of Lahore, dragged by his hair, kicked, tortured, yet he didn't open his mouth. This is about the Saunders murder case. So that entire story had to be told, we read. And then Bhagat Singh, his association with Bhagat Singh, and what made Bhagat Singh what he was. I mean, I don't know if you know that Bhagat Singh, when he was hanged, was only 23 years old. And in this just 23 years, he's left a lot of literature, a lot of things for the future generation to talk about. There is this incident in the book which my father has described also, that they were about to be hanged, the three, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev. And there was this lawyer, Pranath, a friend of Bhagat Singh. He came to him, कि तू mercy petition लिखो. In Punjabi anyway. Bhagat Singh said, why should I write a mercy petition? He said, because your life is, very valuable to the nation. We want you to survive. Bhagat Singh did not agree. But because Rana kept insisting again and again and again, Bhagat Singh said, Acha, come after 2 days, I'll give you my mercy petition. After 2 days, when Rana came, Bhagat Singh says that I've already sent the mercy petition. He said, what have you sent? When Rana read that mercy petition, he was shocked because Bhagat Singh wrote that you say that we have waged a war against the British. Therefore, we should be treated as war criminals. And you should instead of hanging us, you should depute the army to shoot us. So that kind of incidents and that kind of character was what made it, our freedom struggle so great. So all that is in the book.
Wonder what kind of medal has been written were those men made of actually. I'm going to actually read out an excerpt on Bhagat Singh's final day through the eyes of my grandfather. Like my father mentioned, my grandfather was in the same jail that night, which is the Lahore Central Jail. So these are his words. So we thought that the hanging would be on the morning of 24th March, but on 23rd March at about 2 p.m., the prison barber came running to us with tears in his eyes and in a quivering voice said, "Sab kuch khatam ho gaya, everything is over." The Sardar is saying that they would probably be hanged today itself. He has conveyed Vande Mataram to the two of you. Virendra, that's my grandfather, requested Barkat to go back to Bhagat Singh and ask him for a keepsake that the two young men would treasure as a remembrance. Half an hour later, the barber returned. In his hands were a black fountain pen and a comb. On the comb, Bhagat Singh had carved his name with a blunt instrument. Ehsan Ali kept the pen and I the comb. Every evening at 7 p.m., Chief Warder Chander Singh would lock us up, after securing all other prisoners. That day, he came at 4 p.m. When we asked him why he had come 3 hours early, he became emotional and could not speak. After several minutes, he composed himself and said the end had come. The three would be hanged that evening at 7 p.m. There was nothing that could be done to save them now. Just before 7 p.m., Bhagat Singh, Shivaram Rajguru and Sukhdev Thapar were brought out and taken towards the Phansi Ghar. As they walked, they loudly shouted, "Inqilab Zindabad." Hearing it, the other accused in the conspiracy case responded with equal gusto. Soon the entire jail was reverberating with loud cries of "Inqilab Zindabad." We too joined them. It spread even to the non-political prisoners who started shouting the same slogan and it echoed across the jail. Then there was deadly silence. That night, no one ate in the central jail of Lahore and no one slept. Only the chief warder Chander Singh could tell us as he was present at the spot. We waited for him to come and at 7 in the morning, he finally opened our locks. We had many questions to ask about how the three revolutionaries had approached death. Singh could not speak and then he burst out crying. With tears streaming down his face, he said, "I am a government servant and I have seen many hangings, but I have never seen such bravery in facing the gallows before." When the revolutionary came out of his cell, Chander Singh made a request. He said to him that there were only a few minutes left of his life, he should remember Vaheguru. Hearing him, Bhagat Singh laughed, saying, "Sardarji, throughout my life, I have never remembered him. Looking at the atrocities against the poor and the downtrodden, I may even have reprimanded him sometimes. Now, with death standing right in front of me, if I remember him, he will say that this young man is both dishonest and a coward. But if I do not change my views about him, he would say that this young man was both honest and brave." Saying this, Bhagat Singh started his walk towards the Phansi Ghar. The question that is, I think, very close to my father's heart is about the Mahatma and Bhagat Singh.
That was a very difficult chapter to write. One has always respected Mahatma Gandhi. One still does. I mean, the greatest Indian of our times. The question rises that why did the Mahatma not make so much effort to save the three brave hearts? Gandhiji at that time was in a conversation with the viceroy for a pact. With this pact, all the political prisoners were released, but the revolutionaries were not released. That was a condition of the Lord Irwin. Among those who were not released were my father, also in the jail. Gandhiji and Bhagat Singh, both for the same cause, but different methods, different ways of doing it. Gandhiji is non-violent. Bhagat Singh has said that he was not we are not terrorists. We don't like to shed blood at all. But now these three have to be hanged. And Gandhiji does not make any effort to save them. Because Gandhi did not agree with their methods. Fine. But my contention, which I've written on the book, is that what could be more violent than hanging three human beings by the neck? Why did Gandhi not oppose that as much as he could? After all, nothing could be more violent than, तीन इंसानों को आप लटका दो. Nothing can be worse than that, more violent than that. But Gandhiji did not do much for that, and it's written that the Lord Gobind realized that Gandhi is not going to pressurize him. Then he said, "Go ahead." And the consequences were that after the hanging, there was this Karachi session of the Congress. First time in India, the Mahatma was shown black flags. And Subhash Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru both opposed Gandhi on this point. But I do feel that somewhere Gandhi let the country down there.
Always open right to.
It's a difficult chapter to write, anything against the Mahatma, but all great men make mistakes, I think.
So, I'm going to move ahead and we come back to that in a bit. There's also about the evolution. This book is also about the evolution of media in a sense. Started by my great grandfather. My grandfather took over. Then my father wasn't meant to write for the newspaper, and my grandfather was traveling, and this was during the height of terrorism in Punjab, and the person who was supposed to write the editorial refused to write it because he was scared, and nobody was writing the editorial. It's the first day my father picked up the pen to write, and he wrote it for the next 50 years, before he put the pen down. So it's been a tough journey, and we're different generations. I worked in media and he's worked in media, but so I'm going to ask him, you've seen the media for years, journalists. What are your thoughts on that today?
Well, it's a difficult thing to say, but one thing is that times have changed, people have changed, governments have changed. When I started writing, and before my father and grandfather, when they wrote during the British time, you were writing against the enemy in a way, the British. When you start writing after 47, you're writing against your own government. Fair enough. If the government makes a mistake, you need to point it out. So in the last few years, I do feel that a sudden decline in the profession of journalism in India, that we are reluctant to show the mirror to the establishment. We are scared, or we have been bought over, whatever. There's a very interesting quotation of Lal Krishan Advani during the emergency period about journalists.
कराली जो बोले थे कि नील डाउन हुआ वो तो कराल किए हैं.
Correct, say? Bend.
Advani said that when asked to bend, they chose to crawl.
Yeah.
So here you were not even asked to bend, you were crawling on your own. So that decline is there in the media, especially in the electronic media. The print media is still okay. Some of the newspapers have done a great job. Because if media fails the country, then what is there to stop somebody from becoming a dictator? Not legally, but in fact, de facto. So media is not doing its job as it should be doing. And this is the reason that media is also losing its credibility. The younger generation has now gone into digital podcasts and YouTubes, and because they don't trust what is said on the television news. Media does two things. One is to highlight something, the other is to suppress something. जो आपको अच्छा लगे उसको आप हाईलाइट कर दीजिए, जो आपको बुरा लगे उसको आप सप्रेस कर दीजिए. So that is not good for the government either. Because the bad news doesn't come up to you. You are told all the time that you have great chemistry with Donald Trump. No. Look what's happening. There are videos of television media people saying, oh, kya chemistry hai, kya hai, ye hai. And then if you start believing in the chemistry, then you will have a fall like this. Because other person is not impressed by the chemistry. So, media has a very important role to play in a democracy, and I unfortunately feel that that standard has gone down, except in some parts of the print media.
I'm going to read out a couple of lines again from what we've written about the media in the book. The viewer, meanwhile, is treading around minefields of fake news, propaganda, and misinformation. With artificial intelligence also in the mix, some days truth is stranger than fiction. The genie is well and truly out of the bottle. The question arises, what then is the media's role if it surrenders and changes the goalposts that are central to a democracy? In Rudyard Kipling's words, while thrones and powers confess that king over all the children of pride is the press, the press, the press. In India, the press, barring notable exceptions, has left the building. It reminds me of an incident of my grandfather. One day, the reporter of Pratap came to him. I think it was the Allahabad reporter, and said, "I have a scoop. Jawaharlal Nehru's wife, Kamala Nehru, had passed away, and there were all kinds of rumors swirling around him being single. So he came to my grandfather and he said that, there is big news that he's getting married, that Nehru's getting, about Nehru's remarriage. So my grandfather was in a bind. Should he carry the news because it would be the biggest scoop in the country, or what should he do? So ultimately, he sent a telegram to Nehru saying, there are rumors of you getting, of your remarriage, please confirm. And Nehru replied back saying, fantastic nonsense. My point is that even in those times, it was very important to reconfirm the news, to find out whether what you're carrying is correct, whether, it would have been, that kind of news would have blown up what we call trends today in that time, right? But he chose to double check the facts. No one's checking those facts anymore. Unfortunately, this is where we are. I worked in television news for a very long time, and I always say that एक गलत खबर होती थी, it was like पूरे newsroom का चेहरा उतर जाता था. We were like so upset and scared that we had wrong. And there used to be, my bosses would sit in the center and they would draft out this apology note that had to be read out at 9 p.m. Today, every other bulletin carries a fake information, misinformation. You can character assassinate anybody you like, and there's no correction. Unfortunately, that's pretty much where we are.
The changing times, change in the profession, change in politics, and also change in the stature of the people. Those people who were fighting for freedom, they were a different class of people because you had a very lofty goal in front of you, freedom of the country. That brought out the best in every human being, every even smallest person. That kind of idealism is no longer there, cannot be there also. But there has been definitely a fall in standards.
Also, Urdu daily when it started. And there is this big fallacy that Urdu is restricted to a particular community or a particular religion. But Urdu was actually the language of India's independence, India's freedom struggle. Perhaps.
Maybe she know better than me. Urdu originated in somewhere near Meerut, I believe. And we use Urdu all the time. Lal Kila कहाँ से आया? जिंदाबाद कहाँ से आया? It's part of your life. Language does not divide. It's not supposed to divide. Language is supposed to be a bridge. Unfortunately, in this country, a lot of things go wrong. But I'm very happy to note, I was talking to people, and I'm talking to her also today, that there is no controversy in Odisha. Very fortunate. Look what has happened in Maharashtra. They're slapping people who do not speak in Marathi. So that kind of, I'm very happy. Very, very happy that nothing of that sort happens in this land. So, the country, I definitely feel, can only be run if we are a little liberal, broad-minded, udar. Otherwise, there will be problem in it.
As we are counting down to Independence Day, I'm taking the liberty to read out a few more lines. What metal were our freedom fighters made of? They unflinchingly stared at or down at death while bearing all emotions to unshackle India from the Raj. It is in stark contrast to the muscular nationalism and noise that pervades us today. Where have those men and women gone? In 75 years, how did the character of bravery change so drastically? Ironically, the term Shaheed, a martyr, a privilege used exclusively for names like Bhagat Singh, is thrown around loosely in present-day India. Will we no longer aspire for leaders of the stature of those who handheld India and its refugees as they together embrace the seminal folds of an unfamiliar destiny? There is similarity between books and history. Both don't age, although tinkering with them is not unusual. By wiping a past of its integral persona, communities and recollections of unimaginable valor or inconceivable loss are allowed to disappear. If not, they are sanitized to reflect collective behavior and emotion. In today's environment, how important, we've written the book ourselves, but how important are books that are historical in nature?
A lot, during this, after the book, we've been to some events, and you have the young people coming to you and saying, "Ki hame to pata nahi." There are history books in their schools and colleges. They have that same little packages with where they come from. Gandhi ye the, Nehru ye the, Jinnah ye tha, Akbar ye tha. With that is the same story that goes on and on. Nobody goes into the depth of that. How do you tell the young people the real stories that can only be got through books. And you know that I'm quite happy to note that a lot of young people have now started reading books. There was some fascination with Kindle earlier, but that is also going down. Books tell you a lot about things which otherwise you do not know. And in this book, before we wind up, I just have to say that there is small mention of Odisha in this also, Biju Patnaik. Biju Patnaik was in the same jail as my father, and in Lahore. And they were also, they had health issues, and they were both in Mayo Clinic of Lahore, in the adjoining room with constables. There is station outside their doors. And as a child, I also remember, I mean, not remember this much, that this tall gentleman in dhoti and kurta had visited our house in Jalandhar. So later on, I found out that that was Vijay.
I am going to end this with one of our favorite couplets. I'm not going to take time. Hindi is your language, so this is an Urdu couplet. ना सर छिपा कर जिए हम, ना सर झुका कर जिए, सितमगर की नज़रों से नजरें मिला कर जिए। अब अगर एक रात कम जिए तो कम ही सही, ये बहुत है कि मशाले जला के जिए।
बहुत अद्भुत। आपने हिंदी के साथ किया, मैं अपनी बात हिंदी से शुरू करती हूँ। हिंदी और उर्दू कभी भी अलग रहे नहीं। दरअसल उर्दू किसी विशेष जाति की या विशेष धर्म की भाषा नहीं है। हम हिंदी भाषी जानते हैं कि उर्दू हिंदी की ही एक शैली है। सिर्फ और सिर्फ उसकी वर्णमाला और लिपि अलग है, वरना हिंदी और उर्दू में कोई बहुत बड़ा अंतर नहीं है। और जैसे कि आपने कहा कि भाषा जोड़ने का काम करती है, तोड़ने का कभी भी नहीं। और वैसे भी हम भारतीय सुई धागे की परंपरा के हैं, कैंची से हमारा कोई वास्ता नहीं। So on behalf of Prabhatidan Foundation, I, Dr. Vedula Ramalakshmi, Ehsaas Woman of Bhubaneswar, would like to express my sincere gratitude to our guests of the evening, Ms. Jyotsna Mohan and conversationalist Mr. Chander Mohan, for steering us through an enriching dialogue. I would also like to thank Vivanta Bhubaneswar for being our hospitality partner and hosting today's session under the initiative Vivas of Vivanta. There is a small interesting session of question answers and the floor is open now. Before we go further, I request if you have any questions you can directly ask and author and the
I think it's all about emotions that you have been speaking till now. And I think it's not a journey that you have shared in your book, but definitely the nitty-gritties that has been missed from the Indian history books. And it's very important for people like us who are avid readers, and especially my daughter and other people, like as a life skill educator, I always promote all my students to do a book review, any book of their interest. So I think this is an addition in those lines. And I'm really impressed in what you mentioned about the great leaders like Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi ji, as well as Shahid Bhagat Singh. Definitely this is a must read, and I'm lucky that I have not missed out the read and I've attended the session, and I offer my gratitude, all my gratefulness, and thank you so much for this wonderful evening. And I wish to meet you people again, and I want you people to write more so that the young generation is getting more inspired that it is not about the life and the death that has happened during the struggle period, but most importantly, the journey, the difficulties, and the emotions that people have got, and we really value for that. Thank you so much.
And जज्बा
Right, sir. And
वो जज्बा खत्म हो
नहीं sir, अभी हम लोग उसको pen is mightier than sword. That's one thing which I always tell each of my students in life, that pen is mightier than sword. and we will take it forward, sir. Definitely. Thank you, sir.
Aryan invasion theory, what it is written in history books is now not relevant. And we have a richer and very rich history of our own, even if we take out the Mughals and other invaders. So often we hear that history needs to be rewritten, right? This is again a kind of history only. And we are still teaching the same old history in our textbooks. So when I'm a student of Vedic literature, and when I ask my professor, like, आप तो कहते हैं कि इतिहास बदल चुका है, लेकिन हमें उसी इतिहास को पढ़ाना पड़ रहा है, हम कब बदलेंगे? तो उन्होंने कहा कि आप पुस्तकों को अभी बदल नहीं सकती, जो है वो पढ़ाइए, लेकिन उन्हें सच्चाई भी जरूर बताइए। ये सब कितना दिन चलेगा सर?
इतिहास बदला है
जी।
I don't know if you've read that. I've read the book by The Golden Road by William Dalrymple. ये अंग्रेज है और उसने एंशिएंट इंडिया के बारे में बताया है। एंशिएंट इंडिया के बताया जैसे आंखें खुल जाती हैं। That India, that one side went towards the Roman Empire. The second side went towards Japan, China. तो बुद्ध पहले बुद्ध ले गए, चोला ले गए, आप लोग ले गए, समुद्र से ले गए. That ancient India. I never read it. थोड़ा बहुत पता होता है कि ठीक है जी. अगर आप we were in बाली के बीच में जो मेन उनका चौक है, उसमें महाभारत का दृश्य दिखाया है। कृष्ण और अर्जुन के बीच का संवाद दिखाया है। The airport of Bangkok is स्वर्ण भूमि। वो कहाँ से आया? और उसमें समुद्र मंथन है बीच में। ये हमारी विरासत है। इस विरासत को हमने अनदेखा कर दिया। इस विरासत को हमने देना है, लेकिन हमने मुगलों को भी देना है, इसलिए कि पता लगे कि हम कहाँ फेल हुए। आप देखिए हमें क्या कमजोरी है कि 200 अंग्रेज आया और 200 साल पर शासन कर गए।
Yes, right.
There has to be a tragic flaw in character जो शेक्सपियर कहता होता है। So those things have also to be brought up.
Yes.
मंदिर गिराए गए, पर राजपूतों ने सरेंडर किया। जिन महाराजाओं ने अपनी बेटियां बहने मुगलों को दी, वो हमारे थे। We can't blame the Mughals for that.
Yeah.
They have been a great character flaw in the society. So history can be interpreted in many ways. आप कुछ सोचोगे, मैं कुछ और सोचूंगा, but ये ठीक है. It has to be rewritten, but let's be fair about it. This is what I'm saying. But as I said, ancient India को बहुत कम जगह दी गई है. It's amazing the story that British author has written. उस टाइम जब ships बनाई गई, सारा कुछ किया गया. Even Shashi Tharoor in his book has written that before the British came, 28% of the GDP of the world was China and India. उस पे जब वो गए तो हमारी 2% थी. But 200 आए, 200 सब रह गए. We can't blame the Mughals for it. We can't blame the British for it. We got to blame ourselves.
Jyotsna Mohan for writing such an amazing book. I'm using the word book because I'm yet to know whether it is a memoir or novel. Because you are speaking about your family background and connecting with the struggle of India's movement. All this is very amazing. Because one point was coming time and again into my mind about the Chimamanda Adichie get a half of a yellow sun, where about the Biafra war, she has interviewed to write that novel 4,000 people. I have a small question that how many years you took to write it and what is your process of research? Thank you.
He used to write editorials because he said that I didn't get my editorial censored during the British time. I'm not going to get my editorial censored this time. So instead of writing his editorials, he started writing his life history. जहाँ एडिटोरियल आता था उसकी जगह उन्होंने अपनी उनके उसका नाम भी उन्हें दिया वो इनकलाबी ने. That was also a base of what we wrote. Then she did a lot of research. Then there was some material of my grandfather. बाकी जो कुछ था, that was all lost in Pakistan. Nothing came from Pakistan as far as the newspapers are concerned. So, total I think 2.5 years to write the thing.
But also that, I think that's a understanding and a learning we've also had through the book. That वो जो था वो दबा के उन्होंने वहीं का वहीं छोड़ दिया. So my grandfather also didn't really speak much. Whatever we've been able to get, I'm sure there was lots more that we ourselves don't know. But you know, even other people, that there's an incident that we mentioned in the book. It's a he's a Pakistani writer, and we are from Jalandhar. I mean, we came from Lahore to Jalandhar. His family went from Jalandhar to Lahore. But when partition happened, for a family of 8, only 5 went across. His grandparents and one aunt were missing, and forever they didn't find out. So Salman finally came to Jalandhar to find out. And while walking in that area where it used to be their home, he encountered a man. And that man said, "Are you from this family?" And that man started crying. And he said, "My father shot your grandparents point blank." And so he said, "But you know, his grandparents." And he said, "My father never mentioned anything." So after partition in Lahore, he said, "My father's one thing was there's no point buying a house." That was his only reference to partition. Ki ghar kharidne ki koi zarurat nahi. You know, houses don't stay. And he said, never, nothing. So that generation didn't share as much as they could have, and whatever we have been able to collate, we've tried our best.
You remind which were majorly written on this Vibhajan ki tragedy, exactly same things, and they really are very heart touching. Yeah. So last question.
The freedom of press is under a lot of pressure. So how do you think that the legacy, of defiance and nationalism can inspire today's press, which is under a lot of corporate and political influence?
You were asked this question.
Pratap was a product of different areas, but we are very heartened that all major newspapers, all major magazines have devoted pages and columns to this book. So obviously it just clicked somewhere. And all have written the same thing, which we are, that times have changed, and where sort of, there's a feeling of guilt in media also, that we are no longer say at Pratap was at that time.
Everything is controlled.
And the Tribune has written, the Indian Express has written, the Telegraph has written, the Hindu has written, the Frontline has written, the Outlook has written. I mean, they've given pages to this book, which surprised us actually. As I said, we were never expected this kind of, because media itself, I think there is obviously a guilt feeling. That we are not doing our service properly.
There's a top journalist who actually, he wrote a really good piece, and I said, "Thank you to all." He said, "What I write from my heart because it reminds me of why we got into journalism in the very first place." And I think that is what is missing. We are at crossroads. I think it's very easy to be disheartened because it is very disheartening. I mean, for me, I was in television, and I can tell you it's a very, very frustrating place to be. A very, very frustrating phase. I don't see it changing for a while. Khadam kar diya.
Thank you. To Jyotsna ji and Chander Mohan ji. Thank you so very much for the wonderful conversation. And thank you so very much, Vivanta Bhubaneswar, and their initiative Vivas of Vivanta. Last but not the least, a special thanks to the wonderful audience for being so engaging and interactive. Now, as you all know, the foundation promotes cross-strait cultural understanding and appreciations to foster unity and appreciation of the rich cultural heritage across India's diverse states. Today, we are pleased to felicitate the author and the conversationist with Lehriya Dupattas. Lehriya Dupattas are a type of traditional Indian dupatta which is from Rajasthan, which creates vibrant wave-like patterns, and that's the reason we call it Lehriya. And I would now like to call upon a very special guest of today's evening. He is Director of NIFT, National Institute of Fashion Technology. A very highly qualified person, and who received so many laurels and applauds and so many awards to his credit. And we are really very honored to have you, sir, Mr. Rajesh Kumar Jhaji, to felicitate today's author, Jyotsna Madam.